Right, so we have a couple more episodes here to talk about when it comes to Generation 5. I have watched Episode 3, the Jinxy Games, Episode 4, Sunny Side Up, and Episode 5, the Masquerade Ball. I still have yet to watch A Little Horse and Missing the Mark, the last 2 episodes for this season. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about these 3 episodes. And originally, I was just going to watch the Jinxy Games and then make a video about that. And then, watch Sunny Side Up and then make a video about that. And then Masquerade Ball and make a video about that. But not a whole lot happened in the Jinxy Games for me to really justify making a full-length video on, even though most of these videos have only been a few minutes long anyway. But in the Jinxy Games, not a whole lot really happened. We have the Jinxy Games. It's happening. Hitch is participating. He's got Cloudpuff to join with him in these Jinxy Games. It's super wacky and weird. All the games are somewhat normal, but the rules are extremely weird, and they seem like they're rigged. It seems extremely rigged and stuff like that, and that's kind of just, I guess, the point of it. That's kind of the recurring joke of it or whatever. Interesting, though, that they kind of confirmed the whole, Apple Biddle and Queen Haven getting together kind of thing here. That happened in the Tell Your Tale series on YouTube. I believe that's what it's called anyway. It's the Tell Your Tale series. It was actually quite good. That series is actually quite good. And in one of the episodes, they had the whole thing of he joined them for a brunch or something like that, and they were all against it, but not at the same time and stuff. And that's kind of what they did here in the Jinxy game. So it kind of sets a precedent that maybe some of the stuff that happens in Tell Your Tale is going to happen in Generation 5 for an episode, but it's going to be done entirely different. And so it also basically confirms that Tell Your Tale isn't canon. Because, again, we had something else in Tell Your Tale where they created the weird flying van machine thing that they fly around in and stuff. They did that in Tell Your Tale before the Christmas special, and then the Christmas special happens, and they build this together and stuff like that, and they fly around in it. So, definitely, that's 2 different instances where something happened in Tell Your Tale that didn't happen in Generation 5, in the actual main series, but at the same time it kind of did. They just kind of changed some stuff around. But overall, the Jinxy Games, I don't really have much else to say about it. It was a good episode. Definitely better than Top Remodel. It didn't seem rushed like the previous 2 episodes. Neither did Sunny Side Up or the Masquerade Ball. All 3 of these episodes did not feel rushed to me. I will say that the lighting is definitely better in these 3 episodes, but there's definitely still weird lighting going on with some of it. It's slightly off, and you can kind of tell a little bit, but it moves so much that it's kind of hard to tell at the same time. So, that being said, the only other thing I have to say about the Jinxy Games is the fact that Sparky seemed attracted to the tree for some reason. I don't know if that was important or if they just needed Sparky to do something dangerous to kind of get Pip and Zip focused back on what's actually happening rather than what's going on with Biddle and their mom. It was a good episode. Definitely a good episode. Felt like a little bit like a Generation 4 episode a little bit there. Now, Sunny Side Up, there is a lot to talk about in this one because a lot of stuff happened lore-wise and just all kinds of stuff. Right at the end of the episode of the Jinxy Games, Misty, she gets into the lighthouse and stuff like that, and she's trying to look for something that can help her get Sparky or whatever else, right? And at the end, she actually does successfully get Sparky, kind of, because he just walks right up to her, but he just gives her back to them, so it's kind of a weird thing there, but she also takes this picture, and she comes back, and then at the very last line that we have there is, Misty is, in trouble or something like that, because Opaline calls her there, and she has to get there this instant. The next episode starts in their lair and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem to pick up where they left off, but at the same time, it kind of seems that they do. It's very weird and confusing, and I'm not really sure how to go about this. It's such a weird thing to talk about because it seems like it should have flowed into the next episode where she was finally walking up to her after being called there and she's in trouble or seemingly or something. And then at the same time, she is in trouble. She ends up getting grounded in this episode, and it's kind of a funny little thing, but also super important and stuff. And so I thought, going into this episode, that she was going to get in trouble for literally having Sparky in her hooves and then just giving them up because Opaline is able to watch, basically all of Equestria, it seems like, except what's happening inside the lighthouse. And when she got Sparky, it was outside the lighthouse. So I thought, oh, she's going to get in trouble because she let go Sparky, and that's why she's in trouble now. But no, they kind of just didn't seem to accept that. They just seemed to throw that away or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's a little bit weird because she somehow gets the photo that Misty has. So again, there's some weird time skip here. It's really hard to understand here. But also, throughout this entire episode, Opaline has this weird cough, and I couldn't tell if it was a reoccurring joke or if it was important. It seems like it should be important because of how often it was happening, but at the same time, it seems like it was just a recurring joke that just fell flat or something. And then she tells Misty a little bit more about the past, where she talks about Skyros, which, as far as I know, we never heard anything about that in Generation 4, not even in like the movies or the specials or anything like that. As far as I know, Skyros, this is the first time we've ever heard that. And she mentions that she was young with Celestia and Luna. Celestia and Luna were also young. They were already alicorns at this young age, which also doesn't seem to add up, but maybe it does, I don't know. And she mentions that they had the whole sun and moon thing going on, so they kind of ignored her and stuff like that, and that maybe that's like why she's evil for some reason. It's weird. I guess it's kind of similar to Starlight, right? Where she couldn't make friends, so now she hates friends or forever or something like that. But it definitely is interesting because I noticed after this episode and some of the other episodes and just Gen 5 in general, it seems to be rewriting a lot of Generation 4 lore. First off, we have Cutie Marks that work entirely different. It's super weird. I'll make more remarks on Cutie Marks here in a minute with the Masquerade Ball episode and stuff like that, but it's definitely really weird because you have like this, right, you know, you got Luna and Celestia as kids and stuff like that, and it doesn't seem like it's breaking canon, but it also feels like it's kind of tripping up on it a little bit because, like, if Opaline was there at that age with Celestia and Luna, why has she never done anything up till now? Why did she wait so long to do something? And the theory has come up that maybe it's because her power comes from the sun, right? In this same episode, Sunny Side Up, somewhere near the end or something like that, she's trying to get this Dragonstone thing. And the sun starts going down and her magic stops working when the sun starts going down. And so that seems to imply to me that when the sun is down, she is absolutely powerless or near powerless, if that makes sense. And maybe that is kind of a big deal. Maybe that's part of why she wants Dragonfire, because it's sort of like a sun that can never burn out or something, right? That would make sense to me. And so maybe she never made a move against Celestia and Luna because she is powered by the sun, and Celestia and Luna can, you know, literally raise the sun and lower the sun whenever they want, right? And so maybe she never did anything against them because they could always just lower the sun immediately and they would still have a lot of power and she would have none. And so that makes sense to me as why she never made a move against them, but at the same time, it's still a little bit unclear why she never did, because there's definitely instances in Generation 4 where she could have done that. And everything else, it's just super, super weird to me. But I think that's probably why she never went against Celestia and Luna and stuff like that. In this same episode, Misty gets grounded. I don't remember if I mentioned that yet or not, but she gets grounded and she's literally pinned to the floor and she cannot move. That is what level of grounded is for Misty, I guess. And so while she's grounded there, she can't move, but she does do something that she's never done throughout the entire series, and that is use magic. She actually uses magic and escapes the confines of this weird being stuck to the ground spell that Opaline put on her. Now, it's weird because she definitely used magic because our horn glowed and everything like that, but I'm wondering if the reason why she was able to escape it was because Opaline was getting weaker as the sun was going down or something like that. That to me kind of makes sense, unless Misty is just like way more powerful than we thought or something. But it's also interesting because for this entire time, for the entire series, they've been saying that Misty can't do magic because she doesn't have the Cutie Mark. She doesn't have Cutie Marks, so she can't do magic. And she even says it in this scene, and then she doesn't, and I guess she doesn't realize that she used magic here or something. That's definitely what seems to be implied here, is that she didn't realize she used magic and stuff. But yeah, she does that, she escapes, and then she looks at what the main five are doing and stuff like that, and they see the Sunny Side Up show and stuff like that, and it seems to be like almost talking directly to her without talking directly to her. It's kind of an interesting thing there that they did. And then the episode's pretty much over after that. Opaline fails to get the crystal or the rock or whatever the fuck it's called, the stone, and she can't get it because she can't use her magic to grab it anymore because the sun is down, right? So she comes back, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. It's definitely interesting. Like I said, it seems like they're rewriting some of the Gen 4 lore to work for this. Now, I don't have a whole lot to say about the Masquerade Ball, but I do have a few points that I want to make out for this. And then next week's video, I'll either watch A Little Horse and Missing the Mark and just talk about those 2 episodes or something. But for now, Masquerade Ball, this episode where they're doing this big Masquerade Ball, it's very much Gen 4-esque and stuff like that, where Celestia did that big ball at the end of every year or whatever else like that. It's definitely very similar to it, but it's also a pretty neat little concept that they did there. Misty ends up going to them and getting invited to come and stuff like that, and she joins them and stuff, and she reveals to Zip in this episode that she doesn't have a cutie mark, and Zip doesn't really care. I mean, it makes sense that she doesn't care, because like they're just straight up like, I don't care, like, you're still our friend, that's not a big deal, and stuff like that, and they agree not to keep secrets from each other anymore. But after that, she leaves that library without a cutie mark, because she erases her cutie mark to show Zip that she doesn't have a cutie mark, because she scribbles on a cutie mark every time she goes out or whatever. But she goes back out without her cutie mark on. No one else mentions it. No one else points it out. And the rest of the main 5 maybe don't know. It's really hard to say because they never mentioned it again. Even when they come back to the lighthouse at the end of the episode and kind of talk for a bit and Misty decides to leave, they still don't mention the fact that she doesn't have a cutie mark or anything like that. So this is a very weird thing too. Does this imply that there's other characters in this world that just don't have a cutie mark that are as old as Misty? Is this like, it's so weird. What is the lore behind cutie marks? How does this work? We also, of course, learned, I forgot if it was in Sunny Side Up or in the Masquerade Ball. I believe it was in Sunny Side Up. The cutie marks have magic in them, and that was the other place that Twilight put magic in. She put them in the crystals, and she put them in the cutie marks or whatever else like that. And so that's kind of what was revealed and stuff like that. And so it seems like, yeah, they should still be able to earn their cutie mark when they're young and stuff like that, and maybe that's a common thing. Maybe not always it happens, and maybe that's why Misty's case isn't super weird to them, and they're not, like, offering to help her get her cutie mark for some reason, because maybe some people just never get them or something. It's super weird, and I wish they would have talked about it a tiny bit more on the fact that she doesn't have a cutie mark, because they just don't. She says it, and they have their little heart-to-heart, and then they just don't talk about it at all. I'm honestly surprised Zip didn't even offer to help her figure out how to get one or something like that, because if she did, then that would have implied that, just like in Generation 4, you could do certain actions and then figure out what you're destined for or whatever else like that, right? And then boom, you get a cutie mark or something. It's super weird that she didn't offer to help in that way, or even offer to, like, tell the others so that they can all work together on telling her. And Misty also, I don't think, even asked her to keep it a secret or anything like that. It's super weird situation, but that's pretty much all I have to say about the Masquerade Ball. It was definitely a great episode, probably my favorite from the series so far, because it was so much fun, and we got that heart-to-heart with Misty and Zip, and a lot of stuff is happening with Misty here. I think I've said this before, and it was implied in the Christmas special, because they get the van and there's 6 seats instead of 5, but it's definitely implied throughout the series that Misty is going to join them at the end of the series at some point. Maybe at the end of this season, or maybe somewhere in the middle of the next season or something like that, right? And that 6th seat is for Misty, not for Izzy's weird makeshift doll thing or something like that, right? That seems to be the implications to this, and again, they all represent a different element of harmony, even though the elements are, like, slightly different and stuff like that. And perhaps Misty is a 6th element, one of the other ones that we haven't seen yet or something. Maybe it's even the element of magic or something, and it will come full circle, and it'll be a wacky situation or something. But that's my theory so far. That is what I think of these 3 episodes. Again, lighting is weird in all 3 of these episodes, but it's kind of hard to notice in a lot of the cases, unlike episode 2 where it was super obvious. But yeah. Let me know what you think of these 3 episodes, and be sure to like, subscribe, share, and do all of those wonderful things like that. I'm going to be making a video on A Little Horse and Missing the Mark, episode 6 and episode 7, and also, once all of that is done, talking about my thoughts of the series as a whole. But so far, this chapter 4 is, like, the best chapter we've seen so far. This is what Generation 5 should have been from the start. But yeah, do all those wonderful things, because when you do all those wonderful things, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become one for yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.